The story opens with a blood-soaked girl, Grace, stumbling out of a burning house. She steps outside and lights a cigarette. Police approach and ask her what happened. Grace mutters just 2 words, "In-laws." Then she collapses. She's loaded into an ambulance. No pupil response. No pulse. They hit her with the defibrillator, and in that jolt, flashes of everything that happened to her come rushing back. Grace comes back to life. She wakes up again in a hospital, this time handcuffed to the bed. She's being detained by the police on suspicion of arson and murder. After the fire was put out, they found the remains of 2 people inside the house. And Grace's clothes are drenched in other people's blood. That's when another girl walks in. Faith. She's still listed as Grace's emergency contact. Faith is her sister, but the 2 of them aren't on good terms. Grace doesn't even know where Faith lives. Faith says she moved out to New York when she was 18, just like Grace did. She tells Grace she's a social media coordinator now and has a hot boyfriend named Derek. Faith mentions she once saw Grace with her now-dead husband, Alex Lados. But she never said anything about it because Grace abandoned her. Grace fires back, "I did not abandon you." Grace starts explaining what happened. After her wedding, Alex told her she had to pull a card and play whatever game was written on it. Some kind of family ritual. Grace pulled hide and seek, which turned out to be the worst possible card. Because in this game, the Domas family would hunt Grace down and kill her as a sacrifice to the devil. But if Grace survived until dawn and won the game, the devil would kill them instead. So they hunted her. But Grace survived until dawn, and every single one of them blew up and died. After that, a see-through man appeared and nodded at her. And now, she is absolutely going to jail for all of this. The story shifts to a man named Chester Danforth. Someone comes to him with the news that the Domas family is no more. The moment Chester hears this, he tells his people to call his children. He sends a message in a group called the High Council. In Japan, a woman named Wan Qin-shing sees the message and immediately calls her lawyers. A man named Ignacio L. Cato reads the message and gets extremely excited. Bill Wilkinson sends for his knife. 2 Indian brothers catch the message in a club. Chester's children, Titus and Ursula, arrive. Chester tells them the ball is in play and they know what they have to do. This ring should never leave the family. They have to win the seat back. Then he picks up a pillow and says, "Get on with it." Ursula and Titus smother Chester to death with that very pillow. Meanwhile, Grace is about to be transferred from the hospital to the police station. But before that can happen, the detective escorting her is attacked. It was Bill Wilkinson. Grace and Faith run. Bill chases them down, and just as he grabs Grace and is about to kill her, he blows up into pieces. Faith is terrified. Grace tells her there might be more coming. She opens her handcuffs, strips off the hospital gown, and changes back into her old clothes because she can't fight in a hospital gown. They move forward, but then someone tosses a smoke bomb out of an elevator. A voice says that Bill tried to kill the girl before the game could even begin and condemned his entire bloodline to a premature end. The scene shifts to a wedding where Ursula shows up and tells everyone there's a gas leak, ordering the premises vacated. This is the Danforths resort, and they're clearing it out fast. The last time the High Council convened in person was October 1963, and now they're gathering again at a lodge near the resort. Ignacio L. Cato arrives with his son Felipe. Wan Qin-shing arrives with her son, Wan Cheng-fu. And Viraj Rajan arrives with his brother, Madhu Ranjan. Grace and Faith are brought to the location. And this is when it comes out that after Chester's death, Titus and Ursula will take the field together because they're twins. That's when Mr. Lubail and the representative lawyer from the Lubail organization arrive. The organization is led by a council made up of the heads of 6 families. 2 of those families, the Domas and the Wilkinsons, have been completely wiped out. And by surviving the game of hide and seek, Grace has triggered a very seldom used clause of the organization. On the council, there is one seat with more power than the others, the high seat. Until now, that seat was occupied by Chester Danforth. But because of the clause, the high seat is now vacant for the first time in many, many years. Grace has been given the opportunity to win the high seat. It's her reward for surviving the game. But the heads of the remaining council families will try to win the seat for themselves. They all chant, "Hail Satan." Grace says, We can make this real quick because I don't want your chair. The lawyer explains that the high seat controls the council, and the council controls everything. Grace will play the game of hide and seek again. Whoever kills Grace by dawn wins the seat. If she survives, she wins. They must fill the seat by dawn or Mr. Lubale will be very upset. The winner will be crowned in a special ceremony in the Black Temple. Grace screams, "I am not playing." The lawyer threatens to take her sister's life. Grace says, "Don't hurt her." And right then, another girl shows up. It's Francesca, Ignacio El Cato's daughter, who also happens to be Alex's ex-fiancée. She tells Grace, "He bought the ring for me before you stole him." Francesca blames Grace for ruining her life. Grace and Faith are injected and knocked unconscious. The lawyer lays out the rules. Council members must use a weapon that existed during the period in which their ancestor made their bargain with Mr. Lubale. The council members are not allowed to kill each other. If they do, even by accident, the offending family's entire bloodline will be punished. And whenever a hunter dies, the next person in that family's line of succession must take their place on the field. The 5 hunters take their positions. When the clock starts, everyone hops into golf carts. But the Danforths didn't leave keys in anyone else's cart. They speed off alone. Grace wakes up. She shakes Faith and tells her to get up. The hunters have no interest in Faith. She's only here to slow Grace down. The Danforths start arguing over which of the two gets to wear the ring. Meanwhile, Qin Shing sends up a drone. The drone reaches Grace, and through it, Qin Shing tells her there's a way out of this. She found a loophole, but Ursula shoots the drone down. Ursula tries to shoot Grace and Faith as they run. The two of them come up against a massive wall they can't get over while handcuffed together. They change direction and run the other way. Faith says, "How did you not know your fiancé was in a devil cult? You were probably too busy paying attention to his money." But then Grace spots someone and goes quiet. It's Ursula. She calls out that there's no point hiding. And right behind Grace, Titus shows up. They dodge his first attack, but Titus pins Grace down. Faith shoves Titus off. They both run. Ursula tells Titus he can't mess up like that. They have to win that seat. She slaps him across the face. Grace and Faith make it near the resort. Faith says they should go inside and find a phone. Grace tells her it's completely exposed and they can't just walk in like that. And right then, Ignacio is watching them argue through his sniper scope. But just as he lines up the shot, the magazine drops out of the rifle. While trying to reattach it, the gun goes off. Now they know he's there. Ignacio opens fire, but his aim keeps missing. Grace and Faith run and take cover. Faith notices some dried leaves nearby. She uses them to create a smoke screen around them so Ignacio can't get a clear shot. He fires blindly into the smoke, and one of his rounds hits a cylinder that explodes. Viraj gets caught in the blast by accident, but he survives. The explosion injures Grace too. The two of them rush inside the resort. Faith sits Grace down and pulls out the glass pieces embedded in her skin. She pours alcohol on the wound. Grace tells her she tried to find her. She wanted to invite her to the wedding. Faith says she wouldn't have come. They both take a shot of the alcohol, but then they hear someone coming and go silent. It's Viraj. Grace and Faith run. Grace says they're going to have to fight him. They find a cutter they can use to break the handcuffs, but the noise from it brings Viraj straight to them. But when he gets there, no one's near the cutter. Grace and Faith jump him together. Viraj's brother watches through the security cameras, cheering him on. But Grace and Faith overpower him and shove him into a large laundry machine. Grace turns it on, and Viraj starts spinning violently inside. Grace thinks Viraj might have a phone on him. She stops the machine. Viraj tumbles out in horrible shape. He's dead. Grace searches his body for a phone. The lawyer tells Ranjan he may take the field. Ranjan asks, "Do I have to?" "It's mandatory for the family head." Ranjan asks, "What about my wife?" He signs a document making his wife the head of the family, which means she's the one who has to go out and hunt. Grace calls 911 and explains her situation. But the person on the other end isn't the police. It's Ursula. Every call made inside the compound routes to her because they own the phone company. Ursula tells Grace to come to the main gate. On their way, Grace and Faith run into Qin Shing. She says she doesn't want to hurt them. There's a way out of this. She's here to offer Grace a deal. The other council members don't know about this loophole. But if Grace marries into a high council family, specifically Qin Shing's son, Qin Shing gets the seat and Grace gets to live. She says her son is nothing like Alex. He's an idiot, but he's kind. And the world will be far better off without the Danforths pulling the strings. Grace asks, "So I marry some stranger?" Faith jumps in and says she'll do it. But Grace realizes it can't be that simple. Qin Shing admits that technically Grace would be part of the organization. She'd just have to do the usual stuff they all have to do. But Grace doesn't want to sacrifice people and sell her soul. Right then, Ignacio shows up. Qin Shing tells Grace to say yes. Faith says she'll do it. But Ignacio's gun is empty and Grace grabs Qin Shing's hand and uses it to kill Ignacio. Qin Shing explodes. Shortly after, her son explodes too. Grace and Faith keep moving. Grace doesn't like taking risks. Because the one time she did, she moved to New York and lost Faith. Faith says, "You could have taken me with you." Grace says she was 18. It was a once-in-a-lifetime scholarship. She had a plan. She was going to build a better life for both of them. And Faith was okay. They had decent foster parents. But Faith keeps saying the same thing. "You left me." When Grace left, it broke her heart. Grace tells her she's sorry. She says she's happy for Faith and her perfect life. That's when Faith admits she made it all up. All of it was lies. Faith is actually just a hostess. Meanwhile, Titus and Ursula are waiting at the main gate. They receive another phone call. Ursula tells Titus to answer it. Titus talks to them, and Grace says they are coming to the main gate, but they come from behind them instead. Grace had already recognized Ursula's voice. They ask how to open the main gate. Titus refuses to tell them, so Grace tells Ursula to tell them or they will kill her brother. Ursula says to kill him, the seat will be all hers. Titus starts asking them that who abandoned who, but just then Grace hears a sound behind her and gets distracted. Ursula and Titus overpower them. From behind, Matha's wife arrives, breaks the main gate, and escapes. Grace tells Faith to run. Ursula grabs Grace and tells her to give up. But Faith comes back and saves Grace from Ursula. She lifts her up and they escape together. The two of them drive away in a golf cart. Ursula's words about killing Titus deeply affect him. Meanwhile, after his wife leaves, Madhu says he is ready to take the field. But now he cannot, because he himself signed everything over to his wife. Madhu owns nothing. He becomes extremely frustrated. Just then, Francesca arrives, fully prepared for the hunt, ready to take Ignacio's place in the field. Grace and Faith return inside the resort. Grace pulls out a giant nail that was stabbed into her body. She says that Faith always chooses the dumbest option. She could have saved herself. She could have gotten help. Faith shouts that the only reason she is here is because of Grace. The two sisters start arguing again, and Grace says that she was right to leave and wishes Faith had never found her. Hurt by this, Faith walks away. Grace starts crying and calls out for her to wait. Just then, Francesca arrives, but she accidentally fires the cannon in the wrong direction. She charges at Grace, and Grace sprays pepper spray at her, but Francesca also sprays it into Grace's eyes. On the other side, Faith, still crying, starts to head back, but Titus appears in front of her and asks where her sister is. Meanwhile, Grace and Francesca cannot see anything and are blindly attacking in the air. Titus starts beating Faith. Faith kicks him and tries to run, but Titus chases her and does not let her escape. At the same time, Francesca gains the upper hand over Grace. Both sisters are losing on their own sides. Francesca is about to land the final blow, but Grace fights back. She smashes Francesca with a piano. Meanwhile, Ursula comes to Titus and tells him to stop, but Titus slaps her. Ursula is shocked, but then she tells him that they can use her. Titus gets on the speaker and tells Grace, "I have your sister." He lets her hear Faith's voice and says to return to the lobby within 10 minutes or she dies. Grace finds a firearms box nearby. She opens it and pulls out a shotgun. On the security camera, she sees Faith being taken away. She grabs the shotgun and heads toward them. Francesca is standing right in front of her. Grace shoots her dead. After that, Francesca's brother signs the document and takes the field. Madhu appears in front of Grace and says he is not playing anymore, then runs off. Grace can only hear Faith's voice now. She keeps asking the others where she is. Suddenly, Felipe shows up and starts shooting at Grace. She dodges his shots. In the chaos, her shotgun runs empty. She locks herself inside the room, catching her breath, when Titus brings Faith in front of her. He tells Grace to come out quickly. Grace says okay, she will come out, but only if you marry me. She tells Titus about the loophole. Titus agrees. Grace says, then swear to Mr. LaBelle. Titus swears. Grace steps out and hugs Faith. Titus takes Grace to a room and tells her, get ready. The guests are already arriving for the coronation. Grace is dressed and prepared. That's when Ursula comes to see her. She says, I'm scared. I don't understand who my brother really is. There's no good in him. I thought I could keep him in check, but he's lost it. So I need your help. We have to try to control him together. We can do so much good with the power of the seat. But Titus has heard every word. Furious, he grabs Ursula and says, you want to control me? He turns to Grace and says, I want you to see this. He says, I am not a man who can be controlled. And he kills Ursula. After that, Grace is taken to the altar of the Black Temple. Every devil worshipper is gathered here. Faith tells Grace, you can't do this, but Grace has to. The lawyer himself will perform the wedding. He asks the devil for his blessings on this union. The blood of both Grace and Titus is mixed together in a bowl. They're made to sign with that blood. They're declared husband and wife. Titus kisses Grace. Titus is handed the high seat of the council. Everyone starts chanting, Hail Satan. But right then, Grace stabs Titus with a pen. She stabs him again and again, killing him. She slips the ring off his finger. Killing a family member wasn't against the rules. Then Faith steps forward and kicks Titus's body into the pit. Now the high seat belongs to Grace. She says, get on your knees. She can do whatever she wants. She starts saying, I could change the world. Her very first act is to remove herself from the council and from the entire organization. There was no law against this, because no one would ever think of giving up that kind of power. So now, the seat will go to whoever is wearing the ring by dawn. Dawn is 3 minutes away. Grace remembers the lawyer's warning. If no one is wearing the ring by dawn, Mr. LaBelle would be very upset. So Grace takes the ring off and throws it into the pit. Whoever goes down and finds the ring and slips it on will take the high seat. Everyone dives into the tunnel. Down there, they start fighting each other. Grace and Faith are free. Down below, whoever gets their hands on the ring is immediately killed by someone else. When time runs out, one by one, every single one of them explodes. Madhu screams, I'm alive. But the moment he comes in front of Grace and Faith, he explodes too. Grace and Faith catch a glimpse of Mr. LaBelle. The two sisters walk out of there. And with that, friends, this story comes to an end. Let us know how you liked this explanation in the comments.